Welcome to CityCast Denver. I'm Paul Karolyi, and here's what Denver's talking about. All right, here we go. It's a big day on the show. Election day. We got results late last night, and we're here for you Wednesday morning. We're actually taping this late Tuesday night, but we've got all the numbers. We got the big races called. There's some lingering questions, but we're going to get into this and talk about what happened. I'm, of course, Paul Karolyi, and I'm here with producer Olivia Jewell. Hey, what's up?
Hello, Paul. How's it going? One of your favorite nights of the year.
It truly is. I wasn't feeling it this morning when I woke up, but then as the day went on and as the parties started, as I started figuring out where I was going to be, it was like, oh yeah, I actually love this. This is when I get to learn about how Denverites feel about their elected officials and the future of our city. Hey, before we get to the results, just a reminder, this is hard work that we're doing. This is a service we are proud to provide. We're happy to provide, but this is a service that takes a lot of labor, and it's important. And we know it's important, and it's free. So now is a great time to sign up for membership. If you have thought about it in the past, and you're listening to us here the day after the election for the results that you want to know, hey, maybe head over to membership.citycast.fm and sign up to become a CityCast Denver neighbor today for as little as $10 a month.
You also get other perks like a ad-free feed with bonus segments once a week, which is really cool. And secretive, you get to feel like you're part of a special club because you are. And we also will send you every Monday an events roundup, curated events around the city, cool stuff we think you'll like, straight to your inbox every Monday. And you can only get that if you join our Neighbors program.
Sign up today, membership.citycast.fm. All right, let's do this. Let's get to the results. Olivia, what's the first race you want to talk about?
Let's just get right to it. Let's get to Democratic governor's race.
Okay, so the primary, this was Phil Weiser versus Michael Bennet. What are the numbers?
All right. Well, AP called the race at 7:55 p.m. Kind of early. I feel like kind of early, personally, in my, few years of election coverage. So our results as of like 10:30-ish tonight, we've got Weiser at 379,849 votes. And that's like 55.2%. So we have called the race in his favor. And Phil Weiser has made a speech in his victory. And Michael Bennet has called him and said, good job. And you were there, Paul.
I was there. I was at his victory party at A Seat Serve over on 17th Avenue. And this is the big ticket item. This is the governor's race. Because of the way the demographics in this state have changed, whoever was going to win this race, we knew the whole time was likely going to go on to be governor. We'll talk about the GOP side in a second, but it looks like Phil Weiser is going to be Colorado's next governor. And how did that happen? That's a story we're going to dissect over the next few days. But right now, I think that his campaign playbook that he first deployed back in the AG's race, when he was first elected, I think it worked for him again. He announced very early, like 18 months early, and then he just went out and did the work. He traveled the whole state. He met a lot of people. And the dynamic that we could see early on in that race, which was when more people know and get to know Phil Weiser, they tend to like him relative to Michael Bennet. That dynamic held the whole time. Michael Bennet always had the name recognition, but Phil raised enough money to catch up, and he had the ads, and he's a likable guy, and people were ready for a change, which I think was a big theme of the night. Phil himself put it simply in his victory speech. He said, Coloradans deserved a choice in this primary race because we, the people, not establishment politics, choose our leaders, which was a line that got a huge applause from the crowd at A Seat Serve, and folks started chanting, Phil, Phil, Phil. This was an anti-establishment night across the board, I have to say. And this Weiser victory was one of the key points in that.
I think so too. On a side note, the Phil chant, when I was listening to it on the live stream, I just kept thinking about Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Why?
Bill Nye, the science guy. I was like, they should do like a spinoff of that. Phil Weiser, the governor guy. Okay. Thanks.
I could see him doing it.
Thanks, guys. I'll be here all night. Thank you.
The campaign continues. You know, he's going to go up against this GOP nominee. Maybe he'll tap you for some theme song.
Yeah,
support.
hit me up, Phil. Let me know.
So let's talk about the GOP side of the governor's race before we get to the other big one for Denverites especially. The numbers as they stand, we should caveat. No one has called this race. We're not ready to call this race. I think numbers are probably still going to come in the next day or so, but it looks like it's a very close one between Victor Marx and Barb Kirkmeyer. Marx is sitting at 39.3% of the vote right now. Kirkmeyer 40.5%. Scott Bottoms substantially farther behind those two, so it doesn't really look like he has a shot to win this, but between Marx, the newcomer, the former pastor with the very colorful life story who refused to tell 9 News' Kyle Clark how many people he has killed in his life, versus Barb Kirkmeyer, who has all the credentials in the world and is a much more like established, maybe you'd say old school Republican. I've heard people call her the boring one.
Yeah, we've really got two ends of the extreme, like two ends of the spectrum here, which I mean is not lost on anyone. I've been seeing a lot of people point it out, especially when they're in debates together, and also like Barb Kirkmeyer's, history. And I think it's interesting. I think this is one of the only races we've got tonight that is too close to call right now. So it's really looking like a hair right now. So I think that there'll be some interesting, commentary on it coming up. I saw that the Jeff and Bill show on KNUS is going to have Barb and Victor Marx on the show today. So I think back to back. I don't think together, but I thought that would be interesting. They're saying it's too close to call. So I'd be really interested to hear what they have to say. Might be an interesting place to tune in if you're curious about that. But yeah, this one, Scott Bottoms, he kind of sank to the bottom.
That one thing we know for sure.
One thing. That's clearly what we know out of this. So I don't know. I don't have much more there right now.
Marx, Kirkmeyer, one will go on to face Phil Weiser in the general election, and it will be a very, very different campaign depending on who it is.
I know. I honestly am kind of Victor Marx would just be really interesting in general.
For us,
those
in the
interviews.
Media?
Oh my gosh, just those clips of him. Just I could do with a little more Victor Marx lore in my life, just selfishly. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah.
This episode is brought to you by the Vail Wine Classic. Featuring international wines and spirits, as well as Colorado's home favorites like Carboy Winery, Outer Range Brewing, and Woody Creek Distillers, the Vail Wine Classic is where it's at. While being wine-centric, there's something for everyone at this amazing weekend in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. At the Grand Tasting, drink lovers can enjoy unlimited samplings of over 300 wines, spirits, and brews, spanning everything from West Coast vineyards to Argentinian makers and gourmet local food. The Vail Wine Classic, happening August 6th through the 8th, includes programming such as sommelier-led wine hikes, paired lunches and dinners at Vail's top restaurants, and an exclusive sunset showcase called Best of Fests, featuring 90-plus rated wines overlooking the Gore Range. Ticket prices go up as it gets closer to the big event, but you can save money by buying sooner. Just use code CITYCAST at checkout for $10 off. For tickets and a full schedule, visit VailWineClassic.com. And don't forget to use code CITYCAST for $10 off.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the other big one. This was the race that, I mean, it kind of snuck up on me that it was this close, and then here we are. We got a surprise.
It was getting, national attention for a minute now. With, we had Hassan Piker and lots of influence from outside of Colorado coming in. But the CD1 race between Diana DeGette and Melat Kiros and Wanda James. So Diana DeGette, the incumbent, has not yet conceded as of when we are recording this. But right now, as of like 10:30, Kiros is in the lead with 49.3% of the vote, which is like 58,337 votes. And I say that because DeGette is at 43% with 51,459. So it's close, but not that close. Not that close. We can see that she's kind of edging her out there. And then Wanda James really only got about 7% of the vote. As of our time of recording, she didn't even clear 10K. So I think we kind of saw that coming a little bit, but really I feel like it was heating up between DeGette and Kiros these last few weeks especially.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where it's going to be good to go back and track the whole thing about how this happened. But, I think a year ago, some of us knew DeGette was a little bit vulnerable. She had a reputation, even though she'd been in Congress for almost 30 years, of not being the most available and present in the community, maybe not the best with constituent services. And, we had some polling that showed the same. And then, she had two challengers. James didn't really resonate as much, but Kiros really did in a big way. And she hit a couple of key points early in this thing to set a narrative of momentum. I'm thinking about that county assembly where she shocked Denver with such a huge overperformance and almost kept Diana DeGette off the ballot entirely. I think that headline really shocked people into considering, hey, maybe it's time for someone new, and maybe it's this young 29-year-old former barista, former lawyer who took an ideological stand on a very hot button issue, lost her job, and now she's running on it. It turns out that she was on the right side of this issue. I'm talking about Gaza and Israel, of course, and for Denverites right now. I mean, young Denverites want change, and that issue definitely, I think, above any other, set her apart from Diana DeGette in a big way. I mean, there's a million things about this, but
I think it's
sticks
worth
out to me.
Noting too, a lot of us thought that the early votes from the older generations were going to favor Diana DeGette more, but that first wave was favoring Melat. So I think maybe some people were surprised there. I also will say Melat, just probably 15 minutes before we taped this, dropped a really cool video on Instagram that she had locked and her team must have had locked and loaded with a really cool Dochi track on the back, just of her kind of being yeah, I did that. So I will say her campaign really kind of had that one in their back pocket just in case.
She ran an incredible campaign.
Her campaign was really cool. Really, the hot girls for Melat. There was a lot of really good marketing towards my generation, and I saw that. I saw people really lean into it. So it was cool to see.
And I think this is going to make her. I mean, assuming she wins the general in the fall, which she almost certainly will. This is a deep blue Denver, but this makes her the first Gen Z woman to be elected to Congress.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, in the last couple of weeks, she'll be the third Democratic Socialist. I mean, joining the two that New York just chose in their primaries. I mean, I think Denverites, that's the other thing is this telling me. It's there's the anti-establishment thing. People definitely had some resentment toward Diana DeGette. And this was just not the year for incumbents in Colorado, at least not the primary. But but Kiros had things, she just had this like fresh energy that really resonated with people. Like you could see it in rooms with her. You could see her connecting.
Yeah.
And
she was very authentic.
and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree.
Shall we move on to our next race?
Yeah, let's move on to this Senate seat race for the Democratic senator. Incumbent Hickenlooper versus Julie Gonzalez. And we saw Hickenlooper bring this in with 56.19% of the vote. Julie trailing him with 43%. I'm kind of curious what you thought on this, Paul. When the first round of results came in, it looked really, really close. And then I felt like the gap just widened and widened. And so I felt like Julie Gonzalez was kind of this one person on this progressive ticket that didn't pull through, with the rest of these results. So I'm kind of wondering how that camp is feeling tonight.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like when we got this national attention over the last week or so for this primary, a lot of folks were looking at this like, a narrative around the progressive candidates or the insurgent candidates, the anti-establishment candidates. Is Colorado the next battleground where the insurgents will be able to take a step forward? And Julie Gonzalez was lumped in with that of taking on Hickenlooper. I mean, I think that she outperformed. Like, I think she rode the wave and benefited from that momentum that folks were feeling right now. But I think that she just never really had the fundraising to bridge the gap when it comes to name recognition. John Hickenlooper, from the beginning, I mean, everyone always knew, like, yeah, he might not be like the exact portrait of like who a lot of people want to elect to go to the Senate right now, but because of his age or because of like some of his policies, like his votes to confirm Trump nominees. But people just didn't know who Julie Gonzalez was. She just did not have the money or the campaign infrastructure or whatever to reach people. Maybe next time this is a good jumping off point for her to run again. But this time,
that's what I think. I feel like this sets her up really well for the future campaigns.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
next race.
Yeah. AG.
The Attorney General's race. This is another interesting one. Didn't get quite as much of attention, but what were the numbers here in the end, Olivia?
In the end, Jenna Griswold pulled this one with 46.4% of the vote. I think that this is some of that name recognition again. She was running against Doherty with 20.1%, Seligman with 17.6%, and then Heddle Doshi with 16%. So, she really took most of that. Everyone else kind of split the other half there.
Yeah, Griswold wins. She's the current Secretary of State, so she's won statewide elections. She kind of rode into office on a blue wave back in 2018, and she's known as a fighter. She's a fixture on what was once MSNBC, standing up to Trump, fighting back on Trump, protecting elections. And I think that's how a lot of people knew her when they looked at her on the ballot, and especially in comparison to these other three names who, similar story with Julie Gonzalez. I just don't think any of the three of them ever really distinguished themselves above the others. Compared, maybe the better comparison is Melat Kiros and Wanda James. Kiros clearly stood out to so many people. Doherty, Seligman, Doshi, I mean, each of them distinguished, experienced in their own ways. Doherty, the Boulder DA, Seligman, the crusading activist lawyer with Towards Justice, his nonprofit legal firm that he runs. Heddle Doshi, the former Biden DOJ lawyer, ran the Google antitrust case. These are all super impressive people. And maybe if just one of them had run against Griswold, they could have had a chance. But I think they just split the non-Griswold vote. She held on to her people, and she's going to be the next Attorney General, unless one of these Republican Attorney General candidates manages to put together a run against her, which she certainly has a lot of liabilities. I mean, she got tons of criticism in her campaign, and I don't know. I was speculating earlier tonight at the Kiros party with some folks, maybe if Griswold goes on to win, which she has, this is the year that a Republican can retake a state office, which they haven't in, I don't know, probably 10 years now.
I wonder how mad the, blue part of the state would have to be with her to make that flip, or if it would have to be kind of an undervote situation.
I mean, people would have to be really unenthusiastic.
Yeah.
And really not see a lot of other high stakes races on the ballot. Because if there's nothing else drawing people in, then, a lot of people will just vote down the line, just blue, blue, blue.
Yeah.
And Griswold would benefit. That's how she got in 2018, a big part of it. But I don't know. I mean, these Republican candidates are interesting. Michael Allen and David Wilson. I was just reading about them today. We hadn't really covered this, but Allen was a DA for El Paso County, which is the Springs, and a Navy veteran. David Wilson, cybersecurity professional and lawyer, Army veteran, special assistant U.S. attorney. Both seem like pretty interesting people. I wonder if this race will be close. Who won that primary tonight, Olivia?
Yeah, Allen pulled the race on this one with
Michael
60.5% of the vote. So
he walloped Wilson.
Looks like he'll be going up against Jenna. So guess we'll see how people are feeling about that.
All right. Let's move on to another one with some little national intrigue.
Yes.
Congressional District 8, which was a race in the end between Shannon Byrd, former state lawmaker, and Manny Rutinel, current state lawmaker, former colleagues, those two. Manny had all the fundraising. It seemed for a while like maybe the more progressive candidate, but then there was some controversy with him flip-flopping on some of his key policies. And here's where it landed. I mean, Manny took it today. Manny got 61.2% of the vote. That's just over 42,000 votes to Shannon Byrd's 23-some thousand votes, 33.9%. Manny crushed Shannon. This was not very close in the end, which probably bodes well for him going up against Gabe Evans in the fall in the hope to take back that seat from the Republicans.
Yeah,
but also,
it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I've seen that people online have called this the Colorado's one true swing seat, and I mean it's still a very new district, only created after the 2020 census. So this is a new area, a new seat they're still figuring out, and it's kind of bounced back and forth with Yadira Caraballo, Gabe Evans. So, now we're going to see if Manny can take it back, I guess. I also saw a tweet that made me really laugh really hard about that Manny Rutinel is going to be facing his choppelganger, Gabe Evans, aka his doppelganger that's chopped. It's because they look alike, but one of them's not
kind of look similar.
Good looking. Yeah. I thought it was so funny. I was I mean, Gabe Evans was very online during the election stuff, talking about Melat Kiros and just state of our state in general, which was interesting to me. He was very worried about the state of democratic socialism. So he was airing some thoughts too, which, what better time to do it? But yeah, so I think that'll be a really interesting race. I'm curious to see how he's going to try to take on Manny.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be a tight one. That'll be Definitely. A tight one for sure.
Yeah.
All right. There's a couple more in races that we covered. Probably good to share results on just because we have them now and we talked about them a lot. Also, one of them involves somebody who's been on the show many, many, many times. Our Green Chili correspondent, Justine Sandoval. She was running for House District 5. And I can report the results in her race against Sterling Sims, the young, also Gen Z mayoral staffer here in Denver. He worked for Mayor Mike Johnston for the last few years. It looks like Justine really ran away with this one. She ended up with 76% of the vote, a little over 8,500 votes total to Sterling Sims' 23% of the vote with about 2,600 total votes. So yeah, this was Justine's race. Looks like she is going to go on to be a state legislator for House District 5.
Yeah, I think Justine has this name recognition with her community here. I think that bode well for her, but I also don't think this is the end for Sterling Sims. I mean, having him on the show, I foresee things in his future politically too. So I don't know, excited to see what he does next too.
I have to agree. Very talented young person. I will say two things because I watched them in a forum. One, Sterling, he gave probably the best answer I have ever heard to a question about being a transplant and daring to run for office and being a transplant in Denver. His answer was, I admit it, I'm not from here, but I am so grateful that I came here because Denver saved my life. As a member of that LGBTQ community, growing up in a place where I didn't feel comfortable being myself, I moved to Denver and I was able to come out. And I want to thank you all for making this city a comfortable place and a welcoming place for me. And I thought that was wonderful. And Justine, on the same note, I mean, it's so interesting on on a night when establishment and what that means is kind of the theme of the whole election. Justine had a great answer to the same question because Sterling was criticizing her for being part of the establishment because she's a longtime staffer for Diana DeGette. And her response to that was, I don't know if I'm the establishment in this city, but I'm established in this city. Which is clever.
Justine's
and
she's got a way.
It shows what she's got. She's got a
does.
network. She's got a strong relationships. She's got a strong foundation, and it took her to victory.
She really pulled out. I think she's going to do a great job. So that's cool.
All right.
Cool to watch.
One last one.
One more.
Senate District 34. This is the other race that we cover. This is the forum that I moderated a few weeks ago between Chela Garcia Irlando and Andres Carrera running to be the next state senator in this district. Olivia, what are the numbers?
Yes. So Irlando took this one with 67.81% of the vote. So kind of handsomely, I would say.
I would say so too.
Took that race. What did you think, after moderating that debate? Was this surprising for you or did you kind of see it coming?
Oh, I had no idea. These sorts of lower down ballot races, it's so hard to get a handle on them. Like how it's resonating with people, like actual voters, how any of these messages are, because you just don't have a lot of opportunities to see the candidates speak and try to connect. But, in that room for that forum, Chela definitely won the room. That's Chela Grace Orlando. She was speaking the words that people wanted to hear. I mean, when it comes to data centers and the environment, especially, I thought that she had a really strong message, and that's the experience that she will bring to the State House next winter. Is that, having run an environmental nonprofit, I think that people could see that they could trust her to be an expert and a leader on that issue. And turns out that's what they wanted. That part of Denver, North and West Denver.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, those are the results as we know them now. We'll talk about this more later in the week. And listeners, we would love to know what you think. The Kiros surprise, in particular, I think this was a huge day for Denver, a historic day. And a turning point, but a turning point to where? What do you think? Let us know. Tell us your name and your neighborhood and what you think this election means. 720-500-5418. Leave us a text. Leave us a voicemail. 720-500-5418. Olivia, Jewell, Love, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Paul Karolyi.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell a Gen Z voter about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at CityCast Denver, and subscribe to our morning newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. Remember, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you then.